Good morning. I'm Stephen Toop, and I have the honor to serve as President and Vice-Chancellor of the University of British Columbia. Every year at Congregation, UBC bestows honorary degrees upon individuals who, in the opinion of the university community, have fit the criteria of excellence and eminence in their chosen field. Ian Stirling is one of those individuals, and I invite him now to step forward to receive his honorary degree. Madam Chancellor, for decades, Canadians have viewed polar bears as indomitable symbols of our Arctic regions. In more recent times, however, UBC alumnus Ian Grote Stirling has been instrumental in teaching the entire world to view polar bears as sensitive indicators of global climate warming and to take seriously both their plight and their origins. After earning his Bachelor and Master of Science degrees from UBC, Dr. Stirling ventured to Antarctica to conduct research on Weddell seal populations. It was there on the barren sea ice that he took his first steps toward becoming one of the world's foremost experts on high-latitude marine mammal ecology. For these efforts, he earned a PhD from New Zealand's Canterbury University. And though he has returned time and again to lead further studies of Antarctic ecosystems, it is his research on Canada's polar bears that is especially significant. From 1970 to 2007, Dr. Stirling served as a research scientist for the Canadian Wildlife Service, for which he led the most extensive research program ever undertaken on polar bear ecology, population assessment, and the relationships between polar bears, seals, and ice conditions. The outcome of his scientific rigor and diligence, and that of many graduate students he inspired along the way, has proven vital to the effective management of polar bears internationally. He's also authored more than 150 peer-reviewed papers and 5 non-technical books designed to stimulate public awareness of global environmental issues. The combination of his work, leadership, and thoughtful participation on countless international panels, boards, and commissions has been frequently recognized, including by his appointment as an Officer of the Order of Canada and his election as a Fellow of the Royal Society of Canada. Madam Chancellor, in recognition of his wisdom and guidance on critical pathways of natural history and for his contributions to the global sustainability movement, I ask you to confer the degree Doctor of Science honoris causa upon Ian Grote Stirling.
By authority of the Senate of this university, I confer upon you, Ian Grote Stirling, the title and degree Doctor of Science honoris causa.
now gives me great pleasure to ask Dr. Stirling to say a few words.
Thank you. Chancellor Morgan Sylvester, President Tuke, faculty, and most importantly today, new science graduates, your families, and your friends. It's a huge honor and quite unexpected to be standing in front of you today, especially it's some 54 years now since I first arrived on UBC's campus from a small mining town in southeastern BC at the age of 17. It's also, oddly enough, the first time I've ever been present to receive a degree. I was in New Zealand starting my PhD when my master's degree from UBC arrived by mail. I'll always remember the words on the customs declaration: diploma, no commercial value. At the time, I thought that was rather humorous, but later I came to think of the label in a different way. Although it is true that by itself a degree doesn't have that much value, what it does do is qualify the holder to advance through another door to new opportunities. Even so, only by challenging your own limits can you realize the potential that your degree could qualify you for. I'll use a little example from my own experience. I was fascinated by marine mammals of polar regions. So when I got the opportunity to do my PhD on Weddell seals in McMurdo Sound, Antarctica, I just jumped at it without a second thought. However, I will never forget stepping out of a transport plane in Antarctica after about a 10-hour flight from Christchurch and standing on the Ross Ice Shelf in January of 1966 at about 4 a.m. It was 24-hour daylight, minus 20 to 25 degrees Celsius, windy, and it felt very cold. And as I looked south across the ice shelf to the transantarctic mountains vanishing into the distance, the sheer scale of the environment and the challenging nature of what I'd come to do began to sink in. And there I was, in a place that I was completely unfamiliar with, to start a major project on a large mammal I'd never seen before, using methods that had yet to be developed, and coming to the realization that I was pretty much on my own to figure everything out. I will confess at that moment that I did kind of wonder if maybe this time I'd bitten off a little too much. However, it all worked out, and a significant part of what helped me in difficult moments was the training I received during my master's degree here at UBC, the diploma with no commercial value. In your busy years of studying and exams, and I know this is the science group, which is what I wanted to talk to, have you stopped to think about what science really is, and thus what some of your responsibilities might be? I once asked a physicist roommate of mine at UBC what he thought science was. And without hesitation, he said he thought there was order in the universe and that science was simply the description of that order. That's still my favorite definition. In New Zealand, a young faculty member just back from finishing her PhD at Oxford once commented that the most important thing she concluded after her years there was that science is simply the process of discovering and documenting truth. I mention these rather simple-seeming but fundamental observations because over the years, the independent reporting of scientific results has sometimes been a subject of controversy and inappropriate political influence. In recent decades, we've seen a few scientists who, for whatever reasons, were willing to deliberately distort clearly documented scientific facts of enormous consequence to society, such as the link between cancer and tobacco, or anthropogenic carbon dioxide production and climate warming. We still have lots of climate deniers out there. Some governments have even prevented their scientists from speaking openly about the results of their research to the public, whose taxes paid for them. Similarly, such governments have sometimes cancelled or significantly reduced funding for research projects for ideological rather than scientific reasons. All such behaviors are the polar opposite of searching for truth or order in the universe. However, with respect to the longer-term futility of trying to suppress truth, it's worth recalling the words of Shakespeare's character Lancelot in The Merchant of Venice in 1596. In the length, truth will out. Meanwhile, it concerns me that while we wait for that eventuality on some issues, much damage to all of us and our planet may be done. In closing, I would like to thank UBC for awarding me this honor, the many agencies and individuals who helped make my research possible, and especially the long-term support of my wife Stella and our family. To all you graduates at the beginning of what I hope will be rewarding careers, I encourage you to test the limits of your minds, work in other countries, collaborate with other scientists, and evaluate ideas that question your beliefs. Don't be afraid to admit when you don't know something, or even when you're just simply wrong. Very important. But most of all, never forget that the fundamental tenet of science is simply about truth and the description of order in the universe. And with that approach to your chosen field, your training and your degrees will have enormous value. Thank you very much.